and welcome to the Apple Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Wesley Hilliard speaking, and I'm joined once again by William Gallagher. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, MacPaw and Nord Security. And if you're joining and you're an Apple Insider Plus subscriber, then you don't have to worry about ads. We're going to be talking about everyday carry after this episode, and stick around for the bonus portion where we're going to talk a little bit about what we take with us and a little bit of what we want to stop taking with us. Maybe what tech can replace. Maybe William's going to buy an iPhone knife accessory. We'll see how this goes. Stick around for that. William, how are you doing today?
Well, I was fine. I'm not fully sure I can picture what that accessory was. But also, I am practicing being hip. We only talk in AppleInsider Plus about our EDCs. Yeah, you said everyday carry, but the hip people, we say EDC. Yeah, all right. You just stop looking at me like that.
I mean, I find the movement kind of cringy. It's that hyper masculine type deal. But I mean, as a child of the 90s, male child of the 90s, I definitely was the one finding and collecting pocket knives because I liked how they
Oh, I
were
see.
designed.
Right.
Yeah, they were
Right.
very pretty to look at. Um,
Gotta
and
say, sorry, this is
mm,
such an American thing. I remember every time I go to the
mhm.
States, people try to sell me knives, and if I tried to come back with one of them, I'd be arrested. So yeah,
That's right.
different culture you
Yeah.
got there. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I collected marbles and all
yeah.
kinds of
Oh,
stuff,
I've
but
done that.
not, what's funny is the knife thing, it's seen as so innocent, as a child. Like, you're not seeing it as a weapon, you're seeing it as a tool or as a toy.
Hmm.
And I was in Boy Scouts briefly as well, so again, it just reinforces the tool aspect of it. Um,
Did they throw you out of Boy Scouts for whittling sticks or whatever it is you do?
no, no, no. Just didn't go anymore. But no, it's a fun thing. So yeah, we'll have some fun talking about that. But I brought this up because Apple has eliminated, or have they, another thing that we carry around:
Yeah.
passports.
Oh, okay. In America. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
of
get.
course.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yes. So we don't need to talk about this much. It's kind of an extension of the driver's license thing where you can have an ID in your Apple Wallet. The only thing you can use it for is at 150 airports with the TSA in the United States. It's useful or useless globally. I'm not really sure what's going on here unless a greater standard is rolling out soon internationally. Because unless this becomes useful for international flights, it's borderline useless. I mean, I get it. There's a lot of people who fly domestically a lot, and maybe this is better, but I don't know. It's always half baked with this digital ID and wallet stuff.
Wait, I presume for domestic flights, you need some form of ID, but a passport isn't necessary within the States, is it? Or how does that work?
Oh, no, so you need an ID though, for check-in at the TSA. So I suppose, but see, this is where it gets contradictory. If they support digital ID passports, then why wouldn't they support the state ID as well? So I'm
Yeah.
not really sure what the purpose is here. There's got to be, like, I literally am stuck at home all year, so someone out there probably knows why this is useful or what this is leading towards. We're sadly not the people to talk about it. Um,
Well, you
but
say
moving
that,
on.
but I'm obviously an international kind of guy. I actually have two passports. I have an English and an Irish passport, one. And depending on where I'm going, Europe, whatever, depending on whether I'm traveling with my wife or not, I'll use whichever one will get me through it all easier. But I do have a friend who's joint British Canadian citizenship, and she tends to fly out of London on her British passport, but into Canada on a Canadian one. And I'm thinking, can they cope with this sort of thing if it's all digital and crosses? And it's basically, is she Jason Bourne? Is what I'm thinking now. Yeah.
I do wish we had a more digital forward society. Like, I know that bureaucracy is slow and things take time, but a decade feels like more than enough time, and we've been talking about this for a decade. Um, I don't know, but moving on. Well, passports. I applied for a passport once. Never finished the process. I was
Mhm.
separating from the military, and they encouraged us to apply because they're like, "Why not? You can pretty much do it for free here."
Yeah.
And we have an office that does it, and it was so convoluted and time it took too much time. I think
Uh,
civilian side's
right.
easier,
Yeah.
actually. It's free in the military, but it's harder and it's easier civilian side. But anyway, I just never got around to it. I had my photo made and everything, and I probably had one more sheet of paper to fill out. I just never got around to it. But
I will
eh,
say the digital side really appeals to me because just even in the last year or two, I've gotten to the habit because I'm traveling slightly more than I used to since COVID. And you're walking up to the train station, you're walking up to the airport, and there on your screen is the thing you need next. And I just find that so. And then, once you've done it, you've got flight tracking, you've got arrival tracking, all there on the phone, eating up your battery until it's gone. But
so
I'm
there's so much
impressed.
more that could be done
Yeah.
here, and I this is something we'll talk about in Apple Insider Plus, so we won't stick to it here. But moving on, I think your iPhone might be a little cold, William. Do you have a solution for this?
Um, uh, Watch a lot of videos, stress the processor out. I have a
Uh,
feeling I'm going the wrong
s-
direction here, but
some cardio for your iPhone.
yes. Oh,
Uh,
okay.
no, so maybe a bespoke sweater.
Oh, of course. Sorry. iPhone pockets, the new um, Japanese fashion house, and Apple, basically the iPod socks plus, really, isn't it? That's a bit harsh, but
Yeah,
that's what you mean. Yeah.
I'm going to attempt. This is Issei Miyake, fashion house in Japan. Basically, they're making iPod socks for the iPhone, but they're like real. They're the lederhosen. These are some big socks, and apparently they have a wrist strap. I don't know what's going on here. It's wild what the fashion world comes up with. But sure, if you want to spend 150 or $250,
Yeah.
great. The more expensive one is a crossbody strap. Uh, I don't know. There's not much to say here. Do you think this is an accessory we were missing in Apple's lineup?
It's the snuggliest accessory I've ever heard of. I know there are a lot of complaints that it's incredibly expensive, but this is Apple. I mean,
Well,
don't be
and it's a
shocked.
fashion house.
Yeah, well, true. Apple plus Fashion House equals even more money. I mean, if you can afford it and you want it and
Yeah.
it's worth it to you, knock yourself out. But I'm not going to be racing to do it.
Think Hermes for socks.
Okay. I was what you mean, right? No,
Yeah,
I was thinking that there for a minute. I can't tell you. The thing is, it's 3D knitted, which threw me for a minute because all knitting is 3D, but it's actually quite a fascinating process of machine-based stuff where
computer.
a
Yeah.
single line of thread is overwound into itself, so there's no cutting at all. There's no wasted material. It's if nothing else, it taught me about an entire new textile manufacturing system, and you're just looking at me again, but I love the detail behind things that you don't think about. So thank you, Apple, and can't pronounce it.
So it's funny to me, brief aside, knitting has come up at least more than once for me in science fiction, and it's funny that it happened at least twice, and it's probably because of, mimicry, flattery, whatever you wanna call it, but, both in Wheel of Time and Aragon, there is a subplot line where people are trying to figure out how to make money for their cause, and they realize that magic would be a much more efficient way of knitting, and, what is 3D printing except magic? So here we are living in the world of science fiction.
I picked up the World of Time book. I thought, I look, 'cause I'm obsessed with time, love the title. Turned over the back and it said book 7 of 12. And I thought, yeah, no. And I just put it down. So,
It's not only that, I love Wheel of Time. I love his writing, but if you thought, Tolkien was overly descriptive of set pieces and characters,
okay.
this this is he puts him up. It's wild how descriptive he can be, and it is a slog for every single book. You could probably trim out a lot of that, and again, it would ruin the book. Like his writing style is the book, but
Right.
you could cut out half of the book easily just by cutting some of all of that commentary. Um,
I will
anyway,
tell you, I don't want to be rude about something that was written by somebody who's a better writer than me, and I can't remember the names anyway, but I read a draft of the script to the TV version of Wheel of Time, and I had to go watch it because I thought the screenplay
mm,
was so exceptionally, unusually, just awfully bad. And I watched the TV version, and it was totally different. There had obviously been a complete rewrite, but
sure.
I also didn't like that. So Yeah, that was the Wheel of Time
It
experience for me.
Yeah,
Mm.
don't make us feel any more sad. The Wheel of Time series, everyone knew when they announced it is like, this isn't happening. It would take 40 years to make all 12 books into a series unless they were literally shoveled millions, if not $1 billion, to film continuously for 5 years straight and just never stop, like literally an episode a week forever.
Mhm.
Then sure, we could probably get there. Um, because the actors at least probably wouldn't die before they were finished.
Oh,
But the
right. Okay. Yes.
right, like that's the problem. At least it's not centered around children. And in the books, the main character does age from being like 16 to his 20s to his 30s. Like it does actually progress in a way that a TV series could benefit from. But it was Amazon. Was it Amazon? Anyway,
Yeah, I think so.
they gave up
Oh
almost
no, I
instantly,
didn't
and I'm
know
just like,
that.
gosh
Right.
darn it.
Okay.
Of course they gave up. Of course they did. Moving on. Um, I wanted this to be we have a couple of w we have a trio of basically main topics this week, so we'll see how these go. But this is a bigger topic, smart glasses, William.
Hmm.
Amber wrote a really good piece, I don't know if you got to read it, about privacy and smart glasses with cameras
Yeah.
and how it's kind of already been a disaster with Meta's offering and what we're walking into as a future here. And I want to know your opinion about these.
Well, I think it's either going to go one way or the other. Either it just simply will never happen, or we'll get used to it. There you go. Not sure which of those is more likely or which one I prefer. We do seem to have chosen to give up a lot of privacy over the last 10 or 20 years or so, so maybe we'll give up more. But I think this, knowing that somebody may or may not be filming you, I think is very invasive uh, for it. And then if somebody films me, I want to know what about, I've got the name of the form, it's like mission form that broadcast television want to use. I want to know about the contractual use of that footage. I
Mhm.
want to know if I'm being paid for it. I want to know if my hair looks good. These are all issues that I think won't go away for me. But in general, you know, it's the old thing, isn't it, of anything that was already around when you're born is fine if a bit old. Anything invented till you're about 30 is exciting and new. Anything after you're 30 is the devil's work itself. That seems to be how it works. I believe
That's
Douglas
fair.
Adams said it. I'm not sure about those ages, but he said the word pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on anyway. I think they're interesting. The technology is interesting. Like I'm a technologist. I'm not going to dismiss this wholly because of a privacy issue. We would never get anywhere if that's how we operated. But it is a concern and it is something we need to figure out. And Meta, so saying this, Snap was the first to market, but who cares? Meta is the one who's actually doing anything with this space so far, and they're the ones in the headlines. And most of the headlines are written by 404 Media. I encourage everyone go read their stories on this. But it's kind of wild what's happening with these glasses.
Hmm.
So I've heard arguments on both sides, and to their credit, the for side isn't technically wrong. We're already as a society predisposed to understand that if you are in a space anywhere that is not your home or a bathroom, you should expect that you could appear in any number of photos, whether someone's taking a selfie, recording a home movie, or capturing a loved one at a park, or whatever it is. Expect you could be in any number of photos and videos throughout the year as you navigate your day to day life, even in a grocery store, even in a bar. It's just that is gone from us. We can't expect to go sit somewhere and know that we will never be photographed or portrayed. But here's the thing is when that happens, the people usually don't know who you are, and you are a stranger. You're a background character. You're not the subject of the film or photo, and therefore you just fade to the background and you may as well not exist. Now, this gets tricky when things like if if you're at an event and 10 people are also at that event and we're all taking photos and we all upload them to Facebook, now Facebook knows that you were at that event whether you took a photo or not. Um,
Right.
like that kind of stuff gets tricky, and that's one of the reasons why I don't use Facebook. I just think their whole thing is creepy. But as a society, we've kind of agreed, well, this is just expected. But in order to be in a photo or video, someone has to take a device out of their pocket and hold it up in front of them and take the picture. It's a social cue we've all come to understand. And usually, if you've ever been in public around another person taking a photo, what happens, William?
Well, I look for a mirror, get the hair, I cover my face, I run away. I also, in all
Yes.
seriousness, consider child protection safety because I work with a lot of young
Yes.
writers, and there are big issues over whether or not this young writer is allowed to have a photograph taken at all, things like that. So lots of concerns go through my head, but I'm
Right.
not sure that's where you were going.
Well, I see a lot of I've seen, like, teachers share school events, and I'm like, "Did you think
Yeah.
about sharing this?" Like, I understand maybe you got permission as a whole, or maybe a parent signed a waiver, a media waiver beforehand, but it's so tricky. That's a whole different discussion, but yes, my point was that people scatter. If you see a camera come out of someone's pocket and they're taking a picture, they get out of the way. They're like, "Oh, let's let them have the background." If you're polite, if you're
Oh,
rude, you
true.
shoulder in there,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But most people get out of the way and try and give them their space. And if you're in the far distant background, who cares? Like it's fine. People
Mm,
probably turn on the artificial bokeh and then remove you anyway.
mm.
The problem with smart glasses is they are made to be discreet. The word discreet is mentioned dozens of times every time Meta has an event about their glasses. And it's mentioned in a way that feels almost creepy. Like you don't want people to know that you're wearing a camera, so we made this camera that people can't see. And then they put an LED on it, but the LED is so easily defeated. You can pay, I'm not endorsing this, but there's a guy you can pay money to. It's not even that much money, like $50, and he orders the glasses for you, videos himself taking them apart, removing the LED and putting them back together and putting them in a shipping box and shipping them to you, and then he posts it to YouTube.
Wow.
So you can watch him build your own set of glasses, and it's relatively inexpensive, and you can get a pair of Meta glasses without an LED in it. Like, it's not hard. So there isn't a fail-safe that prevents that from not working, right? Or if even if there was, it's apparently very easy to defeat. So people are buying these and using them to effectively harass and spy on people. One of the stories 404 covered was this trend, apparently, this awful trend, but it was getting clicks. So multiple men did it. They got a hold of these glasses and went to, I might have mentioned this before, they went to massage parlors that were primarily Asian owned and would find these people who didn't speak much English and would ask for the most polite way to say it is a happy ending and coerce them into doing it until they agreed and then would post the video of them agreeing to it to the internet, making fun of them, and
Oh,
it would get all kinds of views. And these were posted to Instagram Reels, so it's like a full loop meta product of harassment being created
oh,
here. And Meta doesn't really have any. And Meta's response to comment was, "If this was an iPhone capturing these videos, would you be asking the same question?"
ouch. That was it's like schoolboy stuff. Like
Mhm.
just an whataboutism. Oh,
And the
actually,
answer
what?
is yes. If this was
Yes, yeah.
primarily done with iPhones, of course we would be asking the same question to Apple. The
Oh,
question is, what are you gonna do about it? And Meta's like, shrug. That's it. We don't care. It's their device. They can do what they want with it.
yeah, I'm actually quite shaken by that. That's just
Yeah.
on every level
It's
possible. Revolting.
awful response. So I didn't mean to bring down the show, but
Right.
the reason why we're talking about this today is that, right?
Mm.
Is this the future? And if it is, are we ready for it? Like, so clearly, Apple is working on iterating Vision OS and a pair of glasses into a wearable that most likely will have cameras that we can wear. Is Apple going to just release a device with face cameras and it work just like Meta? Or are they going to try and take a different approach here? Is there a different approach?
It, I mean, this is why they make them and I don't. I can't conceive of how you could do something that wasn't the same as Meta, that wasn't an LED. Like, I mean, thank goodness Meta glasses are so ugly you spot them a mile off. But when they're not, I can't see how anything can stop this. I'm intrigued by the fact that on the one hand, society seems to have been getting more fractured, where we're siloed politically, yeah, but also we're COVID made us not go out much and we stick to our screens. We're doing everything online. And if you do step outside now, you get filmed like this. It's like trying to
Mhm.
drive us away from meeting anybody ever.
It is a scary phenomenon, and people turning to AI companions and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of weird sci-fi stuff going on right now, but to the point, I do think there are technical solutions for this.
Mm.
Mike Worthley, our editor, he pointed out, well, Apple could include cameras but not let you use them. Um, that way, the glasses have vision so that you can speak to your AI assistant and have them do things for you based on the world around you, but be unable to capture photo or video, which I think is not a bad solution considering, like, for me personally, I don't necessarily want that ugly POV shot that these glasses provide. They're not very good cameras, and even as the technology improves and the cameras improve, so will the iPhone cameras, and the iPhone will always be the better camera. So I could see the argument of you're just never going to capture footage here. Um, Another thing I think could technically work, and I know this is another thing that can be defeated, but what if the glasses sent out a Bluetooth low energy signal to devices within 35 feet to say someone is recording with smart glasses every time you started a recording, and that you'd get an alert on your phone that you could opt into? That would be, I think, an intelligent way to go, kind of an AirTag style solution.
Except
Um,
you'd walk into a party, start the camera,
and
everybody
you
gets the
can
alert,
spam.
and the
Mhm.
photograph would be of 50 people all with their heads down looking at the notification. Oh, okay,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
true. No, no, and I think that's what's interesting here is I we're lacking the opt-in option, and I want there to be an opt-in option. Like, maybe if you're at an event, right? Maybe if you go to a convention or something, and you could put it on your phone, disable this alert so I don't get it while I'm here. I don't mind being filmed. I know that I'm in a public location. I don't know how you handle this. I think Apple has the tools available to handle this in a conscious way, and they will evolve over time. Whatever they release first will not be perfect. There is going to be a story about someone doing something nefarious with Apple's smart glasses, guarantee it. This is not an easy problem to solve, but if there was a company out there who would actually care to solve it, I think it's Apple. Whereas Meta just shrugs and asks if this would be a story if it was an iPhone.
I don't think it's only a technology issue. I'm trying to remember the terms for it, but if I want to film in certain places, even though they're ostensibly public, I have to get permission under certain
If
circumstances. I just haven't done it, so
if
I don't
you're
remember. But
if you're going to use photos or videos for commercial, meaning you're going to profit off of what you were doing,
ah,
not necessarily wedding or party photos. Like, if you were hired to go to a party and take photos, you don't need an uh it's a release form is what you're
thank
looking
you.
for.
That's the phrase. Yes.
Yes, you don't need it because I've had to do this before with my photography work. Is I used to carry around release forms with me to conventions and stuff because I might try to use that. But that's the thing. You don't necessarily need a release form if you're just taking a photo for your private collection or just to post to social media. There's no permission required because there's no money to be made. Now, if you were a very popular somebody, if you're MKBHD and you're filming at an event, and there's one of two ways about this. If you're filming at an event and there's people walking around in the background, they do not need to sign a waiver
Ah,
because they are in a public space. But if you are filming a person and asking them questions, they would then have to sign a form. Once they become part of the media, they have to sign that release form if they're going to be part of a project like a documentary or a for profit video or photo. If they are not the subject, that is removed, but there's a little bit of ambiguity there because if the person in question sees they were in that photo or video, they can contact you and request they be removed, and then you have to blur their face or remove that content. So there's a lot of wiggle room there. But yes, generally speaking, you should not expect to have any privacy in a public place. You can always end up in a video or photo.
I'm just going to stay at home, forget my double passports and things. That's it, throw them away. I'm sitting here. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Not where I thought I'd go
So
today. But
we're not going to solve all of Apple's problems today. Mostly this is just a question to put out to the world of I wonder how Apple's going to solve this. We don't have the solution, and there's no point in pontificating too
sure.
much. But I am interested in seeing how Apple solves it because they are clearly entering this space and soon. So we'll just have to wait and see and go from there. So our next topic, Apple Fitness Plus. I briefly wanted to point this out. I think this is kind of an obvious move. Uh, might be merging into what is going to be the Apple Health Plus subscription in 2026.
A part of that is that it's moving divisions within Apple into the health section. And I was surprised at that because what else was it in before? But, so that made
Fitness.
sense. So fitness
Yeah.
was its own division within Apple, I suppose.
Yes.
Okay.
Or Apple Watch could be maybe the larger
Oh,
division
right.
head, and then
Right.
its own chapter is fitness. Whatever the case, it makes sense. So I've seen a few reports saying Apple is debating whether to cancel Fitness Plus, or I don't think that's the case. It's easy money. It's included in Apple One. This is a sunk cost fallacy. Even if Fitness Plus isn't doing well on its own, it is doing something,
Yeah.
and it's doing more than zero. Even if it's breaking even, it is enough of a value add that they're making their money. That gym has been paid for 10 times over.
Yeah.
And the employees they're paying, I'm sure, make good money, but it's a team of, I can't remember, 10, 15 people on the camera crew, and they rotate through and film this stuff on a consistent basis. So they're always producing new content every week. But again, tiny, tiny, tiny cost considering what they bring in from Apple One, and I'm sure a very limited number of Fitness Plus individual subscriptions.
I would bet anything that every single video they make for it is done on a buyout clause, so there's no royalties to be paid to the
Oh, sure.
trainer and stuff. So they are building up this massive library that's theirs to use for
Absolutely.
free, effectively forever. So
Even
yeah,
even if Fitness Plus as a service, quote unquote, ended today, that catalog would still be there, and I
yeah,
guarantee you Apple would just let you use it. They would just be like, it's now a part of, if you buy an Apple Watch, you can go view these workouts. Yes, they're old now, but push-ups are still push-ups. I don't think that changes. Um,
I suppose the music dates on them a little bit, but I would say the thing that surprised me about all of this, it was not that there might be a health plus thing, because actually you've said that before. It was this idea. First, I'd ever heard that Apple Fitness Plus wasn't a success. I mean, and now I've heard that. I suppose I don't meet many
I
people using it. You do. I have been known to, but
I don't know. So this is one of those things, is people are like to look at Apple's businesses as if they're standalone businesses, and that's not how you should view
yeah,
them ever. Um, Apple Music is a success because it does what it needs to for Apple, and I think Apple Fitness Plus is a success because it does what it needs to for Apple. It is this is it's priceless in a way. How do you put a value on brand image,
yeah,
right? Not only are you selling people an Apple Watch, you're selling them fitness and health in this happy, motivational space where everyone's wearing an Apple Watch, and it's this Apple utopia where everything is perfect and happy, and you're getting it automatically just by paying for a bundle subscription. And so whether you like it or not, you're probably subscribed to it. And at some point, you might think, maybe I could do a Pilates, maybe I could do some yoga, and you turn it on and you use it, and then you get into it. And everyone that I've ever heard of getting into it sticks with it. It's an addictive thing, and it's baked in. There are other services that are massively expensive. They cost some serious money that you pay for per year. I'm talking at a minimum $100 a year, but definitely more than that in most cases. You get Apple Fitness Plus for quote unquote free included with Apple One. I don't I don't think I would personally pay for it separately. If Apple One did not include Fitness Plus and I had to pay for it myself at 12 or $15 a month, I don't know that I would. But
No, no, good point.
it it's just included, so I use it and I like it. And I think that's a lot of people's place in this. It adds depth to the subscription bundles as well. "Oh, I get this too. Neat. That might be worth it for me now." It's not worth it separately, but it is a value add. So, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it makes its money 10 times over just by existing. And I think it's an interesting part of Apple that when we move into this Health Plus situation, I think it makes sense for it to kind of blend into like it'll still probably be called Fitness Plus. It'll just be under the Health Plus subscription instead of it being a separate Fitness Plus subscription. Yeah, I hope that means too that Health Plus will be a part of Apple One so that we also just don't have to pay anything different. I mean, we don't know much about it yet, but it seems we're going to get some sort of companion tool that is powered by AI that lets us delve into our health data. So that'll be interesting. I know you're not the biggest health guy, so we'll move on.
Yeah, all right. Harsh but fair. My mind was just on the fact that I've really got to get back into Apple Fitness Plus. I do a mini workout for a different app pretty much every day, but it's cursory. So, yeah, okay. I feel chastened and criticised, but deservedly so. Right. This episode is brought to you by Clean My Mac by Mac Poor. And just now, Clean My Mac popped up on my screen to warn me that a particular app had frozen. Now, you're a Mac user, you know how this goes. I could right-click on the dock, I could launch it, I could force quit in loads of different ways, fine, but there's no need because Clean My Mac tells me the app is frozen and it gives me a force quit button right there. You get how useful that is. And Clean My Mac, it's always doing things like this. It monitors the health, the condition of my Mac. It tells me when my trash is full to bursting, and none of that is what I intended to say to you before this pop-up appeared. What I intended instead to say was all about the cleaning part of Clean My Mac. So I do have this app running all the time, but whenever I, bring it forward to actively do something in it, that is always and exclusively because I'm running low on storage space. I'm forever running low on storage space, and Clean My Mac is forever getting back gigabytes of that space for me. It does that for me all the time. It's been doing that for everyone forever. Yet now it also does exactly the same thing, but for the cloud. So in my case, Clean My Mac will scour my iCloud storage, and it will point out large files, duplicate files, files that are synced, files on. It will find so much that I can then either delete to save space or maybe archive off if I need to. And that's iCloud. But if you use OneDrive, it works there too. And Google Drive too. It does them all. And it does so securely. Because even though, yes, it is scanning through your iCloud storage, it's doing it solely on your device. And I tell you, this is the only reason I haven't had to pay Apple for its highest tier of iCloud storage space. And it's come very close. Clean My Mac is saving me money as well as space. And if it does this for me constantly, it can do it for you too. Get tidy today. Try 7 days free and use my code for 20% off at cleanmy.com/AppleInsider with the code AppleInsider20. But let me be clear here. That's cleanmy.com, spelled CLNMY, cleanmy, CLNMY.com. So it's cleanmy.com/AppleInsider, and Apple Insider is in all capitals, plus the code AppleInsider20. That's Apple Insider and the digits 20, all written as one word. And again, Apple Insider in all caps. So at cleanmy.com/AppleInsider and the code AppleInsider20. And thanks to Clean My Mac by MacPoor for supporting the Apple Insider podcast and helping me with my storage space.
Speaking of other Apple failures, apparently, the iPhone Air, the rumors of its death were exaggerated, William, I suppose.
Exaggerated and repeated, and I don't know. I suppose I don't know whether the iPhone Air has succeeded or not. I just know that we could have written every one of these headlines a few months ago and scheduled them to come out at about these times now, because it fits what happens every year. I mean, it is true. There was an AppleInsider Plus a few weeks ago examining, I think of it as the iPhone slot machine, because like for 5 years now, Apple's producing base iPhone, a Pro, and a Pro Max, and they're always successful, all three of them. But then there's this fourth rotating wheel of the Mini, the Plus, and now the Air, and they never catch on for some reason. I mean, they sell by the millions. Anybody else would be happy, but compared to the rest, they don't. And maybe that's happened again with the Air, but everything you hear about orders being cut fits every other report we've ever had about all orders being cut and Apple adjusting things and doing it. I don't. The only way we will know if the iPhone Air fails is if there is not an iPhone Air 2. I think.
Well, that's a problem. First of all, the information was the source of this, and their track record is not great. But also, it is silly because the headline was there won't be an iPhone Air in 2026. There was also there was already a suggestion that there wouldn't be an iPhone Air in 2026. So this was not a surprise, but that also doesn't mean it's canceled. I mean, this is why it's not called the iPhone 17 Air. My assumption the minute they announced this thing was that this would be an every 2 year, every 18-month kind of product.
Oh, yeah.
So I wasn't expecting an iPhone Air in 2026 anyway. So this report was not surprising. But then we get a report not much later from the information saying, oops, they're not actually canceling it. They're just going to release one at a later date with two cameras,
Yeah.
which is actually echoing a different leak that we had earlier this week. So very silly. I don't know why this report even existed in the first place, but it fits what we already knew. iPhone Air isn't going anywhere. It's if an iPhone Fold ever does exist, it's the baseline for that. But yeah, an iPhone Air 2 would probably be like 2027 at the earliest, I think.
The thing that amused me just was that the first report and information was based on multiple sources, and then the second one was presumably based on other multiple sources. So just yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Two cameras on the iPhone Air, do you think that would make a difference?
Well, not to me. But then we often talk about photography, and I think it clearly one camera is inadequate for what you use. But for me, one seems fine. I know reviewers say it's a problem not being there, but real life users, I don't know whether we care. But two is nice. I wouldn't
Well,
object.
our show art shows two cameras side by side on this camera bar, and I don't think that's quite right. I should have done it the other way because if spatial is going to become increasingly important, I feel like every iPhone should be able to record in spatial, and this cannot do that in the configuration I'm showing in the show art. If I was being clever, I would have put the camera on the end so that it was like a set of eyes. I don't know then what you do with the flash. Maybe the flash goes in the middle like a nasty wart or something, but you you have to have some distance between the cameras to do a proper spatial video unless they're going to start doing that algorithmically somehow. But undoing this camera bar to do a larger bar would defeat the purpose of the
Yeah.
Air in the first place. So if they're going to add a second camera, I don't know. They'll have to do it in a clever way, I guess.
Well, I'm glad you said that about the bar because actually I made that original image by duplicating the camera and pushing it across. And I did it that way to keep it within the camera bar because, as we now know, excuse me, or the camera bar or the plateau, whatever you want to call it, is the iPhone. Everything else is battery. So if you alter that, you alter everything. So
See, I
yeah.
I made this one, but I did the same thing, so it's funny.
Oh right, we
I
can't.
didn't realize you had already made one.
I did it first or
Eh,
second, one or the other, definitely.
no, you definitely did it first. So my question is, so what if, William, I'm gonna throw this one out there. What if we throw a second camera bar on the bottom of the phone,
Still eats into the battery.
and then we'll have a camera on either side of the device, so it's really wide apart. That
Oh,
actually about as wide as a person's eyes. Yeah.
two places to put your thumb to cover up a lens. Okay.
And then you strap the phone to your face, and then you record people, and that's Apple's glasses.
Well, okay. That's nice. I feel I'm not drawn to the idea, but okay. I mean, what happens
Do you
when the
remember?
iPhone Fold comes out? If it really is just two iPhone Airs stuck together, will it have two cameras? Because I believe that's the rumours about it. Where will those two be?
No.
So,
I think it would be once the backside, quote unquote backside, would have the camera bar with a single lens, and then
Right.
the front side would have no camera
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe an external display.
Okay. Yeah, that I'd wear
If
that. Hmm.
so, iPhone Fold is a whole different thing. I still am not convinced it exists in a consumer fashion. Apple's certainly testing them internally, but if it ever releases, great. I still don't buy it. Um, this whole thing is fun though. I mean, people always want Apple to fail in some way. iPhone Air seems to be selling really well, especially in China. So I don't really know where these reports are coming from or why people immediately buy into, oh, this is a failure, and then like have to backtrack. Like I'm glad if you read Apple Insider and compare like our headlines on similar articles, because if you didn't know, the tech industry is competitive and we're all writing sometimes we're writing similar stories about from similar sources, like we're all covering the information and we're all covering Bloomberg. If you go through and view the different headlines, a lot of the times our competitors, nothing against them, just this is how they handle it, they present the story at face value. Here is what they said, and that can come across fine if all the stories are accurate, but they're not always accurate. So, what I like about Apple Insider is we try to be a little bit more analytical with it and try to approach it from, well, they said this, but, and
Yeah.
generally speaking, our um, takes tend to be accurate because we have a combined history of like 100 years of writing about Apple at Apple Insider. So, I'm exaggerating, but it does feel like that sometimes. Um,
Yeah. I just sorry, my mind's on the 100 years. Did he mean me? But
no,
I
I mean,
would.
Mike's been doing this for
That's
gosh,
true. But
20
yeah,
years, 30 years?
Mike Woberley,
Um,
he has not
mhm,
once let me write Apple is really, really doomed this time, honestly, in the headline. Not once. God,
yeah, definitely this time.
yes. I mean, when Apple brought out an orange iPhone, that's what I wanted to say. But no, have it be factual, he says. What can you do with some people? This episode is brought to you by Nordstella. Nordstella is made to help whole businesses of any size, and it comes from the makers of NordVPN. Nordstella is a threat exposure management platform. It detects cyber threats against your company. It helps you take control before those threats escalate. Nordstella searches for targeted attacks against you, against your brand, or even against your executives. And for those executives, Nordstella provides fast detection and prioritization. It offers real-time visibility of risks and, so very necessary today, it also strengthens a firm's compliance posture. Then for your security teams, Nordstella can provide contextualized insights. It can track adversaries and provide malware logs. Nordstella is also useful for your customers too, because for them, your staff, and your whole company, using Nordstella means safeguarding against phishing, against identity abuse, or account takeovers. Nordstella is about proactive protection. Don't wait until your company's data is already for sale on the dark web. Protect your business today with Nordstella. Nordstella has flexible plans that scale with your business size, and right now you can unlock a 20% discount on Nordstella with the coupon code BlackFriday20. Go to nordstella.com/AppleInsider. That's nordstella.com/AppleInsider and use that coupon code BlackFriday20, so Black Friday 20, and all in lowercase. Go there today. And thanks to Nordstella for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
So can you tell me about the EU and what's going on?
Oh, the European Union. Well, actually, the reason things are going on today is actually
Oh, the UK.
it's the
It's not the
UK,
EU.
and
Right.
let's not go down that line for it. But previously on the UK, our CAT Competition Appeals Tribunal ruled in favour of a long-standing claim that Apple overcharges on the App Store, that it uses its monopoly position, abuses it, increases the costs, and that developers pass the costs on to consumers. Therefore, consumers are out of pocket by something on the order of, well, in dollars, it's about $2 billion. Apple, it was Apple has got to pay that amount. That was the ruling by the CAT. But there was today, it was a particular type of hearing. I've forgotten the term for it, but it's like basically sorting out the details hearing, which means literally things like when you will pay what, and truly which bank account it goes into. That was part of it today. But also, as
Of
just
course.
part of the UK law, this was Apple's time in which it could ask for permission to appeal the ruling. It has to get permission from this court in order to appeal this court thing. And actually, that was denied. I don't know how much of a surprise that was, though, because the ruling was made by this competitions appeals tribunal originally, and the ruling today was by exactly the same people. So if they had said yes, go on appeal, they would have been allowing for the possibility that they themselves were wrong, which frankly doesn't seem very, very likely. But, Apple does still have an opportunity. There is a higher court than it can go to. And so, of course, it's going straight to them. But the legal requirements in the UK has to go through this sequence on these days in this way that it has. Apple, I watched the hearing, actually, and it was, well, I watched it until Microsoft Teams decided it wasn't going to work anymore and just stopped. Who streams over Microsoft Teams? But it was riveting watching the two sides of this. And I mean, I couldn't understand a lot of the legal debate, so I was looking at it in terms of drama, and there was the Apple side incredibly prepared, really on top of the game. I mean, basically very expensive lawyers. And there was the complainant side, the winning side, and it felt like they were fumbling everything. So I thought Apple was going to get their appeal, and then they didn't. It's a weird, weird case because I have this thing that I actually don't have a problem with Apple getting a 30% cut on apps because I remember buying software in boxes and I know the developers got far less than 70% or whatever it is. So I don't
Well,
find it unreasonable at all.
yeah, Photoshop charged $700 for their software in a box.
Yeah, I think Microsoft Word at one point, or yeah, it would have been Word on its own, would have been 600 or so,
Hmm.
something like that. I remember those days. So I think what we've got now is incredible, and actually in some ways damaging. There's a race to the bottom, but there is
See,
all this. Except there's one quote I need to tell you about this because I didn't believe it when I first heard it, and it's true. Um, Apple says that this UK court based the sum, the $2 billion, on informed guesswork. So that's the quote: informed guesswork.
ah,
And I'm thinking, this is a $2 billion ruling. This is a court. Surely there are standards and rules. You do this, you pay that, all of this stuff. But no, in denying the appeal, the judge today actually referred to the this guesswork and tried to make it sound like it was a completely reasonable thing. And I don't believe that it is. So I find Apple's position on that convincing. And there are lots of points. Apple actually sent me all their legal documentation today about what their grounds for appeal had been going to be had they got it. And you know what it's like when you've only got one side of an argument, it's always very persuasive. But there were these 30 odd points of law, and the ones I understood really did seem very obviously wrong. And I had been sure Apple would get their appeal, but it just shows how much I
well,
know.
there's a higher court, right?
Yes, the
So Apple
District
is
Court of
going
Appeal.
to
Yeah.
straight to the king. No.
One step below that. I'm not sure King Charles knows a lot about iPhones. He's a bit busy with other royal issues at the moment. But Apple has 21 days in which to present their case to the Court of Appeal. It's 21 days starting from the moment they get the written version of this ruling, which might be today as we're recording this on the Thursday. It won't be any later than Friday this week. So they've got until December the 4th, 5th, somewhere around there to at least start the process. And you can bet they're going to start the process. But how long it then
And then
takes, I don't know.
the final boss is Sir Johnny Ive.
That seems quite reasonable to me. Yes. Unbiased completely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the whole thing is funny. I mean, I'm with you on this. The price of software is incredibly inexpensive these days, and Apple takes a relatively small cut compared to history. I also agree with the fact that time moves forward and we need to probably rethink some of these ideas.
Mm,
And I'm not the one to come up with new ideas, but um, if I had to pick a reasonable solution somewhere in the middle, it would be that Apple should confer with a third party that I'm sure they pay, but a third party that would actually advise them on how to handle this, a sort of developer intermediary that could help them understand better developers' needs and wants. Obviously, Apple's needs and wants are more money, so they're going to choose the more money route. But the UK and EU and everyone else coming up with these regulations, it's clearly not coming out of nowhere. I don't think it's necessarily just greed or power. There's obviously some straining point that needs to be addressed that Apple's been refusing to address. That are just saying, "Oh, you regulators, you're just wrong." Well, we should probably delve a little deeper into the problem at hand here and see why all these complaints are arising. And if it is just we want more money, you're being unfair, well, I mean, then there isn't really much of a conversation to have. Apple has a right to make money off of its platforms,
mm,
but is it this amount of money or should it be less? Should Apple allow the App Store to be less profitable on purpose to buoy its ecosystem and attract more developers? Do they need to be more competitive? And that's kind of the questions these guys are asking in the worst possible way. I agree with you. It feels a lot of times this is just sheer incompetence on how we're handling a lot of this. Um, but somewhere underneath all the cruft and all the bureaucracy and all the people not understanding how technology works is a real question of, can we do this in a better way that is more competitive and better for everyone, the users, Apple, developers, everyone? And Apple's just like, well, we want to continue using the same thing we used when we started the App Store 15 years ago. Like, fine, but maybe prove that there's no other way. You can't prove a negative, but I don't know. This is clearly up for debate, but no one's doing a good job of debating, and Apple's just going to keep winning if they keep showing up with these arguments.
I can tell you what you're kind of suggesting there is basically marriage guidance counselling, and that isn't happening. But Apple has done some consultation. It has hired a group. In fact, it hired an organization called the Analysis Group to look into what it should be charging. I believe it then ignored the results, but I know this because the Analysis Group is also the consultancy behind this week's study that Apple got put out about how price cuts don't get passed on to App Store customers and things. It was written by a PhD student or person
Yeah.
within the company, but it was the same group. And under that, researching that is how I covered that there is this discussion going on.
So,
But yeah, it's not
well,
finishing.
this is the thing, and maybe I'm simplifying too much, right? The question truly is, what do you want, right? And developers' answer is more money, more control over the app, more options and visibility into the App Store, right? I want to be able to put this app in the App Store even though Apple doesn't let me. Those kinds of things. The more money thing is kind of a tough luck. Uh, is my answer because this is the ecosystem they're offering. They do write the rules, but I don't know. Like, do we? This gets so complicated because I'm with developers. Like, if I was a developer, I would want more money. Sure, like it's a simple, obvious thing. Like, I make this much, Apple takes this much. I want more of that take instead of giving it all to Apple. That is a simple, easy conversation to have. And I don't blame you for wanting it, but the question is, how do we achieve that and keep the App Store worthwhile for Apple? Should they be taking 10%? Should they be taking 5%, 1%? What is the bottom line here? Because theoretically speaking, there is no bottom, right? If we go from, wow, it's really hard to sell software, everything costs $700 and you only get to keep 25% of what you sell because of what you have to pay to the retailer and Apple and everything else, or whoever, the distributor. And then we're like, here's a solution, sell it through our digital marketplace. You don't need a box, you don't need a retailer, and we'll only take 30%. Fine. That's great. That is actually literally double what we were making before. We can charge so much less. We can pass the savings to the consumer. Great. 5 years go by, 30% is awful. We hate it so much. This is highway robbery. Well, what if we make it 15%, And yes, Apple only did that after a lot of litigation in courts. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but they did give way and they said, okay, 15% if you only make this much money or whatever. Fine. That's great. Actually, that's a good concession. Thank you, Apple. 5 years go by. 15% is a highway robbery. It's too much. Like, if we,
Yeah.
like, it's every 5 years we're having the same discussion. Are we going to get it down to 0.5%? Does Apple deserve no money? Like, I understand I'm arguing in the case of a billionaire, trillionaire company, whatever. But that's not the point I'm making, right? This is still a business. You don't get to operate on a storefront for free. I think Apple's terms are fairly reasonable, but I do think there is an argument to be had that maybe it's not too much. Maybe it's just not the right format, right? Maybe their collection needs to be decided in a different way. I personally believe, and this is useless for everyone listening, the the problem is the flat rate. I think that if we got rid of the flat rate and started doing percentages based on draw-in, charge Meta a lot more than the small guy selling an app to 20 people. That's where we should be, and we're not there yet. And I would hope that Apple is working on something like that.
But you forget that Meta and Epic Games, they take an apple for us, for the little guys, not for
No, they're not.
themselves. Yeah?
Yeah.
This will never stop unless it's zero. I want to be on 1 billion devices all around the world for free, please, is the ultimate argument
Yes.
here.
I don't
That
want to
sums it
ever
up.
buy
Yeah.
never buy software again, never I'm owed everything. Give it to me for free. And yes,
Oh, you're
please, thank
sounding
you.
like an AI company now. Yeah. It's the new business
So
model.
there's no easy solution here. Tax brackets is basically what I was describing. I like that could work. Obviously, that would get into its own mess, and the companies with more money would appeal more, leading to more problems and more litigation. It would just this is a forever mess. We are now trapped in the forever litigation about the App Store unless Apple just decides to forget it. Um, but moving on, we have our final topic. I There's a lot of fun stuff going on with Apple Vision Pro this week, so I wanted to discuss that a little bit.
I can tell you the thing I'm really interested in. Have you seen this USS Nimitz video thing? It sounds brilliant. Short, but brilliant. Have you seen it yet?
It's 15.
Is it actually out yet or just announced? I'm not sure suddenly.
No, it's out. It's a little over 14 minutes. It's really good. I found it particularly interesting because last year, I believe, we got is it
Submerged. Oh,
submersive?
yes, I remember that.
Submerged.
Yeah.
Yes, the submarine one. And Mike got to comment on that a little bit because he worked on a submarine. Well, this one was interesting because I worked on an aircraft carrier.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I went on a deployment on an aircraft carrier and everything. So it was quite fun, kind of. So I was not on the Nimitz. Nimitz is a much newer aircraft carrier. I was on the CVN-75, the USS Harry S. Truman,
Mhm.
but they're very similar ships as far as their construction. Two nuclear reactors, steam catapults. So I may be wrong on that. Nimitz might have one nuclear reactor, but anyway, um, because I think they tried to do that or something. And I know the newest one is trying to do the electromagnetic catapult, so that's a whole different story. That's
Okay.
crazy. Basically, a railgun that's a carrier.
Hmm.
But anyway, the steam catapults and everything, it's so much fun. The video was fun. They filmed it well. The drone shots were unexpected, but very nice because I wasn't sure if they were going to let drones fly in the same airspace as the jets,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that can get tricky. And if a jet collided with one of those drones, it would be a very expensive problem. Um, but no, it seems like they handled it well. They filmed it pretty interestingly. There was a moment where they might have faked it, but it looked like they strapped a camera to a jet taking off. I don't think they did because it would have been much more jarring, but they did show a takeoff moment, which was interesting from that point of view. But the rest of it was well shot. They did get a lot of aerial shots, jets flying by, breaking the sound barriers and stuff like that. You're got to go into the various rooms to see the sailors operating on their 1960s technology, and I loved it. It was a lot of fun, just revisiting all that because I've been in all those spaces. I've seen all those things before. If you watch the video, you can see some people standing on one of the upper levels above the flight deck in the tall tower looking thing. It looks like a airport control tower.
Yeah.
Um, if you see them standing on one of the railways, that is where I went. It's called the Crow's Nest, and that's where I would go and hang out and photograph jets taking off and get slowly covered in oil the more I stood there. But like it was a lot of fun, and I spent a lot of time up there when I had free time, just watching them take off and land on their flight evolutions. And revisiting it in Vision Pro was very interesting because they did a great job capturing the audio, the sensation of seeing how just the mechanical violence it is of using steam to throw this multi-ton jet into the air off of a moving aircraft carrier, and then seeing them basically have to crash land into the flight deck in order to come to a full and complete stop before falling off of the edge. It is such a crazy, wild thing to watch anytime, but seeing it in this spatial space was really fun.
And I can't see it because I
You
don't
can go
have
to
an
Apple
Apple
Store.
Vision. Yeah, excuse me. Could I just, well, I'd like to look at the USS Enterprise before this one because that sounds great. The Star Trek experience. And
Uh,
Mike's seen that.
I
You've
was going to
seen this.
say,
You're left
the
out.
Enterprise is another aircraft carrier they've already decommissioned and turned into razor blades. So,
Ooh,
um,
okay.
you're you're talking about the fictional Star Trek Enterprise.
NCC 1701,
Yes.
absolutely. Forget this CVN stuff. Okay.
So one thing that I will point out is the narrator at one point. It might not have been a narrator. It might have been one of the aircraft pilots, which I'll forgive them because they are aircraft pilots. Referred to it as a boat, at least once, if not twice, in the story.
Hmm.
It is not a boat; it is a ship. So I will make that correction for them. Um, but otherwise, it was fun. They showed something particular in there that they didn't mention by name, but I want everyone to know what it is. If you have an Apple Vision Pro, there's a moment where they're narrating and there's a group of people, and these aren't the Skittles, right? The Skittles are the air traffic controlmen who are all down on the ground, the ones waving the lights and doing the hand gestures to launch the jets. Those are all aviation mechanics and everything like that. Like actually out on the flight deck, we call them Skittles because of their different colored shirts, and each shirt has a different meaning based on their job.
They don't get knocked
Uh,
over by the aircraft, do they?
no, no, no. They're
Okay.
very good at their job. This is all very practiced. It's like a dance. It's all choreographed. Um, Always fun to watch, but especially when you watch from the crow's nest, they're like Skittles running around. Um, anyway, when there's a moment in the video where it shows regular sailors in their uniforms up on the flight deck, almost arm in arm, 5 rows thick of people walking hand in hand, uh, bending down, picking things up off of the deck, and then there's someone in front of them with a bag, having them deposit the things they pick up into the bag, right? What they're doing is called FOD pickup, foreign object and debris pickup, and this happens multiple times, especially during flight ops. They'll make an announcement over. So whoever is not currently engaged in something important, they will make an announcement over the intercom. There's a FOD pickup, all hands to the flight deck. And it gives you an excuse, especially if you're nuclear and you're underground basically all day. It gives you an excuse to go upstairs to the flight deck and walk and pick up every little rock, every little piece of paper, anything that you can find, you need to pick up because that can get sucked into the jet and destroy it. And I
Right.
found that interesting that they showed them doing the FOD pickup, but they didn't mention what they were doing. So I thought that I would point that out to everyone.
Cool. Okay. All the time you were doing that, I was probably sitting right here typing. It's a very similar job, really. Uh,
Well, so you would be surprised. A lot of people don't understand the military, but a lot of jobs are just sitting there typing. Funny
hmm.
enough, um, I did a lot of typing. I had to, do maintenance management and keep track of all of the repairs we were doing, so we would keep a lot of records, and, thankfully, we were in computers at that point. Still a lot of paper, but we would end our maintenance jobs in the computer, so that was great. Um, yes, just me reminiscing about being in the military, but it was a fun thing to watch, and, I really enjoyed reliving that experience.
Excellent. I'm not going to
And of
stick
course, they
stick
had
that
to
in
have
mind.
some
Sorry, they had to.
of course of course, they had to have some rock and roll music. I don't actually forget what song they played. I don't think it was Kenny Loggins though, but, we didn't get, like, Danger Zone, but,
Oh, I
it
was
was
thinking not where we belong, but okay. Oh, where else could this go? Rod Stewart sailing. Ignore me. You carry on. I'll just keep thinking of a playlist for these things.
But yes, it was a very well done thing, and again, it's being short isn't really the issue, and honestly, if this is the length, if 15 to 20 minutes is the peak of what spatial can be, maybe it's too hard to film or maybe it's too exhausting. Maybe they're doing research showing that yeah, like they clearly have more footage. They did a lot of interview footage. They were in ready rooms showing them getting ready and sure, like they probably had more footage. They could have made this 30 minutes. They could have made it an hour. But is that comfortable? Does that tell a good narrative? Maybe this is kind of where spatial fits as more of a short form documentary style and you watch it in multiple settings. Maybe we do a prehistoric planet and it's 5 parts and each part is 15 minutes and you watch it at your leisure. That could be the future of spatial, at least for now, as we ease into the technology, make the headset more comfortable.
Although, how would you handle something like sports on that? You can't get. Think of a sport, will you? Baseball. Yeah. Okay, that'll do. You can't get baseball players. Actually, I was going to say you can't get baseball players to stop for a break, but which is the American sport where they have so many breaks, and it's explicitly because of the television coverage needing ads. Is that basketball, maybe, or something like that?
It might be football because football is basically an hour and a half of people standing on a field and 5 minutes of gameplay.
Okay, you're not selling me on it, but I'd
Well,
enjoy the
because
commercials. So.
football, they have like 10 seconds to get to the snap, and then once the play clock starts, they might do a play for 10, 15, 20 seconds. If it's a really long play, like it could get out there, but once the play ends, the play clock stops, they go back to their huddle, they make their next play, and they go back out to the field and do it again. And sometimes they get those timeouts and stuff. And during that timeout, guess what? Rush to commercial break, make some money. Yeah, football is all stops, no starts.
Riveting.
Probably why it's so popular because you can just drink a beer and not have to follow anything.
Okay.
Anyway,
You could
speaking of
just drink and
sports,
not watch, but all right. Sorry. Speaking of sports, yes, you're right. It's something sensible about sports.
yes. So we have this story about a company a startup who tried to get off the ground streaming sports live in spatial. It never happened. Sadly, I think they got as far as even signing sponsorships and getting with different groups to film professional sports and have it show up in this app that they were working on. And it fell apart. They just couldn't get it off the ground. But this is a discussion we had last week of the technology just wasn't there yet. The pipeline, no one was ready for this. And I think this company was trying to get ahead of it and they got in a little too far ahead of it. And if they were getting ready today, and I hope they still are working on this, I don't know if they've completely bottomed out or whatever. They seem to have gone offline at the very least. But if they were working on it today, and within a year's time, they could probably actually have a service that has some value that people would pay for. But with Apple and big sports like NBA getting into this space, I think it's going to get harder for startups to make any headway in this.
Okay. I mean, I know nothing at all about sports, but from the broadcast side, I know that rights are stunningly difficult to arrange. So, a
Yeah.
reason to not go near it, as far as I'm concerned. Although I wasn't rushing to go near it anyway. But yeah,
I
okay.
I don't the future of the Vision Pro as far as an entertainment thing is definitely going to depend on comfort and long-term wear. Today, I can wear mine for the 2 to 3 hours before I absolutely need to take it off, and again, I'll take it off for 10 minutes, get a drink of water, come back, put it back on, I'm fine. It's not like I'm getting dizzy or anything,
Mm,
just the fatigue of being in front of bright displays of any kind, whether it's a monitor or headset, you do have to take breaks, and once every hour is smart, but you don't always get that opportunity. Um, but even with Vision Pro, you should take breaks, and sports wise, I could see watching a football feed with multiple screens open in front of you with different commentaries and sports betting or whatever. Like you could make it a full little like command room of watching this live sport. F1, similarly, you could pull up all of the different drivers' feeds and have them open in multiple windows around you. Like there's interesting ways sports can be tackled, and I hope to see it done. And I don't think wearing the Vision Pro long term is going to be an issue for sports. It would be an isolating experience. It would be a lonely one because you would be
yeah.
by yourself. Most sports are better enjoyed with friends. I enjoy watching sports at a bar. I like going to a football party, like a Super Bowl party, to watch the game. But if you're really hardcore into this stuff and you're really in it for the sports coverage and the art of the sport, then yes, maybe watching it in Vision Pro would be something. I'm very interested in seeing how this Lakers stuff goes. We'll start seeing that early next year, I believe. We'll see. I don't think it's an impossibility. You can wear this thing for a long period of time. It's not going to kill you. It's just we haven't had the opportunity yet, other than the 3D films that are available. But again, the experience is different. It's like watching it on a movie screen, which is fine. It's entertaining, but spatial wise, it's so much more of a sensory experience. I wonder if it would get overwhelming after a little while.
Okay, that sounds right. It's each medium finds its own form, doesn't it? I mean, the 1 hour television drama, which I think is perfect. It's like my 3 minute pop song. Well, there you go, the 3 minute pop song. Things something evolves to be the right length for the medium. Perhaps that's this. You're right.
And well, maybe we're all too. Maybe me personally, I'm too excited by the medium. Like everyone who went to that movie theater and saw a train coming at them thought they were going to die in that
Mm,
first example,
true.
and
Yes.
um, moving pictures, and like now today, that's obviously just a gag at this point. But we're in that phase of Vision Pro of everything feels exciting, like seeing the sharks swimming up to you and the rhinos close by and the jets taking off and feeling like the presence of that is magical in its own way. But as that newness wears off, I think we can get to longer term content because you're not going to be as engaged, right? I don't think I could do 30, 40 minutes, an hour of jets taking off because like the way they filmed it, the documentary style was very engaging and adrenaline inducing. So like you're like shaking your leg level of like energy in this, and it's great that they were able to capture that feeling, but doing that continuously would get exhausting. So just for the sake of the medium, again, I think the shorter projects right now just make a little bit more sense. But speaking of short projects, there is now the ability to buy PSVR controllers from Apple.
Wait while I look up the Apple Store and rush to spend what remains of my money after buying the iPad Pro. Um, did we know this was coming? Because I'm somehow not surprised. It's a game thing I've vaguely heard of. Have I?
Well, yes, these controllers were compatible as of Vision OS 26, but there was no way to buy them separately from buying an entire PlayStation VR headset,
Oh, right.
which costs $400. The controllers by themselves cost $250, and it comes with a charging stand, which you do not get with the PSVR headset. So they're trying to make it have some value. Notably, Samsung's Galaxy VR headset also has separate controllers that also cost $250. So there's obviously a price point they're trying to hit here. Um, I don't think the controllers are that valuable, but like if you were to take the value of two DualSense controllers and a charging stand, you might arrive at 160, 170. So there's a premium being added here for sure.
Okay.
there's no real reason to rush out and buy these. There's a game, 2 games that work with this. There's a new game that came out as we speak today. I was talking about it before. Um, I forget the name of it again because but it's like Glass Breakers or something like that. Um, it's a Moss game if anyone ever played Moss on the PSVR unit or other headsets. But this one's kind of a real-time strategy looking thing. It looks like it'll be interesting, a tabletop spatial experience. I'll be trying that out after when I get some time, like this weekend. But there's more coming to the platform, but there's not really anything taking advantage of those $250 controllers that you have to buy after buying a $3,500 headset. So I really hope Apple is working with developers to get more content out there.
That sounds like a summary of the whole Apple Vision Pro, though, to me.
hmm
But okay.
I had someone write in, Eric, asking about the Vision Pro. They just got their M5 model and they want some games to play or use cases to explore. I mean, as we've discussed, go watch some immersive video. There's enough there that'll keep you busy for a few hours. I highly recommend the music ones, and I really enjoy adventure and what they've had to offer. The race car one's really fun. Um, Obviously, go check out the Nimitz as well because that was just really well recorded, and I also like the sharks. But apps wise, I would say get some widgets. There is a Oh man, I should make a list. I'll email you a reply later with a couple of specific recommendations, but definitely get a few of those widgets that just add some weather and stuff to your space because they help. Apple already has some built in. Honestly, just play with what you have from Apple's offering. But
Mm.
as far as good spatial experiences, I really like some of the Apple Arcade games that are available. The Crossy Castle is actually very fun, and you can play that one without a controller, using your hand gestures, which is interesting. Doesn't work great, but it's kind of a fun way to try that out. The fact that it works at all is kind of impressive.
Forgive me if I've ever asked you this before. I can't remember. Have you ever just read a book in Kindle or Apple Books on the Apple Vision Pro?
No, and it's not my preferred way either way. I mean, I could for sure. It's just not it's not something that I'm interested in doing.
Right.
I read on my iPad mini.
I'm just curious if the resolution is particularly good, if the crisp text is great, that kind of thing. But it's a lot of money to
Oh,
spend to try out. It's something you can already
well,
do.
the text is fine. I mean, just like in Safari or anywhere else, the text isn't gonna be an issue. Like I said, I could easily read a book or, maybe a manga or comic book. I believe there are companies working on spatial experiences using that. That would be interesting, like adding depth to, manga and comic panels. That would be fun. But, books are always gonna be books, they're always gonna be text, so there's not really a new way to interact with text other than just reading it, and that's fine if you wanna do it that way, but there are definitely better mediums for reading.
Yes, that makes it. Well, there's even paperback. I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah, so I'll reply to your email with some specific links because, my mind is blanking on what apps are called right now, but I do have a few recommendations for sure. But that's it for the show. We didn't have any podcast reviews this week. So if you guys want us to read your podcast review on the show, feel free to leave a review in Apple Podcasts. That's the only place we check. I'm sure that we probably get reviews elsewhere. We're really not checking those. So leave a review in Apple Podcasts, leave your stars, leave your comment, and we will point it out here on the show. Always happy to hear from you guys. You can always reach me on Blue Sky. I'm fairly active there, hilly.tech. You can also reach me at Mastodon or via email, wes@appleinsider.com. William, where can people reach you?
Well, clearly I should be racing off to find wherever else other reviews are, but yeah, not going to do that. William at AppleInsider.com is the quickest route. I seem to lurk a lot in the comment section on my own YouTube 58 Keys channel. So it's explicitly for writers, but we can have a natter there.
Yep. So I'd also like to once again thank our sponsors, MacPaw and Nord Security. And if you are a paid Apple Insider Plus member, you will not hear anything about ads. You'll get the show ad free. You'll get the Apple Insider Plus edition, which adds some after show. Today, we're going to be talking about our everyday carry and what we'd like to replace with digital components as well. I think that's about it for today. Once again, please leave us a review, get in contact with us. Always happy to have a conversation with our listeners, and we will talk to you guys next week.